little over a week ago, we finally found out the 2021 NBA draft order. And as a result, we kind of have an idea of what some teams will be trying to do in order to improve their respective teams in this year's NBA draft. Now, I said this in previous videos before, and hopefully I will be coming out with a video giving you a brief overview of every top prospect. So let me know in the comment section down below which top prospect you want us to do an overview of first. But until then, I figured it would be a lot of fun to attempt to familiarize yourselves with a lot of the top prospects in this year's NBA draft. So we're going to be doing a NBA lottery mock draft. Now, just a brief disclaimer, this is my first NBA lottery mock draft, so typically my first mock draft is the worst one, and as we get closer and closer, these get a little bit better. But if you enjoy the draft content, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm because it really helps me out a lot. And of course, make sure you're subscribed and you have my notifications turned on to enter for a giveaway to win either a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. We're going to be announcing the giveaway winner in the beginning of August for that giveaway, and we're going to be running another giveaway on my Laced Up podcast when we get to 40,000 subscribers. Over there, we will be also giving away a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X to one of those subscribers. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. With the first pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, a point guard / small forward out of Oklahoma State University. I'm gonna be honest, I was sleeping on this year's NBA draft class until I finally did my first bit of research and looked into Cade Cunningham. And what I discovered was something that completely blew me away. You see, Cade Cunningham is very similar to other top prospects that we've seen come out of the NBA draft over the past decade, but imagine a prospect that takes a multitude of positive traits that you see from 2 or 3 other prospects and combines it into one. I'll give you an example. The one player that I think of the most when I see Cade Cunningham is Ben Simmons. And in terms of defensive potential and defensive versatility, assuming he could develop that skill, he has what Ben Simmons has. In terms of playmaking potential, although he didn't really show this at Oklahoma State, he has a phenomenal knack of making the right play and creating for his teammates. But here's where he distances himself from Ben Simmons and begins to play more like Jason Tatum. Cade Cunningham is a phenomenal shot creator. So imagine if Ben Simmons had Jason Tatum's ability to create shots for himself, and then you get Cade Cunningham. That is absolutely terrifying. A lot of people compare Cade Cunningham to Luka Doncic. I try to refrain from comparing a player to another player directly. Rather, I like comparing specific traits of his game to other players. But if you're the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham is without a doubt the most transcendent talent in this year's NBA draft, and you can't risk taking another player instead of him. Who else would they take instead of Cade Cunningham after all? Evan Mobley, despite them having Jeremy Grant really showing out? Jalen Suggs, well, you drafted Killian Hayes last year. Jalen Green does make a nice argument, but I feel like Cade Cunningham is miles and miles ahead of where Jalen Green is as a player, which brings us to our number 2 pick in this year's NBA draft. With the second pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, a shooting guard out of the G League. I, for one, am very excited to see how Jalen Green is officially going to be announced. Is he going to be announced from his hometown? Where are they going to say he's from? From the G League? That's what I'm curious about. But you see, the second pick is where things get really interesting because you can make a legitimate argument for Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, and Evan Mobley. Most people think the consensus second best player in this year's NBA draft is Evan Mobley, a 7-foot power forward out of USC. But the problem here is Evan Mobley compares to Christian Wood almost too well. It's like you're drafting the same player and you might as well try to attack a different position of need at this point if you are going to select a big man that already plays like an existing big on your team. I feel like if they drafted Evan Mobley over here, Christian Wood would definitely stunt his development development a little bit, so you might as well go with a scorer like Jalen Green. Now, of course, you could also make the argument that Jalen Green is going to take valuable possessions away from Kevin Porter Jr., but I'd like to think that Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green could make a very young and exciting backcourt duo if they really work out the kinks. This past year, we saw glimpses of Kevin Porter Jr. being a bit of a jack of all trades, and I think with that playmaking ability and Jalen Green's scoring, you have a very exciting backcourt for the Houston Rockets just a mere 2 years after they moved on from the backcourt of Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Green definitely has the potential to be the best scorer in this entire NBA draft, but where he's going to go might be a bit of a mystery because from the second pick and on, it's really a crapshoot from here on out. With the third pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley, a power forward slash center out of USC. So we already know at this point that the Cleveland Cavaliers really want to move away from Kevin Love, and they even went on record to say that if Evan Mobley were to fall to them, they would easily trade Jarrett Allen. And this is kind of comical because the Cleveland Cavaliers were ridiculed for being this team that had way too many centers and power forwards over this past year, from Larry Nance Jr. to Kevin Love to at one point Andre Drummond, then eventually they trade for Jarrett Allen. It's fairly comical to see that they're so willing to go ahead and draft their big men of the future at this point. I'm going to be honest, I do like Evan Mobley, but I do have some reservations as to how he will develop, and typically I'm a little terrified of selecting young big men out of the NBA draft like Evan Mobley because there isn't enough tape on him for me to know what type of player he's going to be. He shot 69% from free throw, so he is a decent free throw shooter, and it probably means that he could at least hit mid-range jumpers at a somewhat consistent rate, but would he be able to extend his range beyond the three-point line? Well, he wasn't able to really do that in college, but at the same time, we didn't really get a large sample size from him in college. He only played in 33 games. The thing is, the potential is there. If he could add on to his frame, at the very worst, you have a player that could hit mid-range jumpers and is an absolute terror to go up against on the interior with a 7'4" wingspan. He has tremendous two-way potential with elite defensive ability and showed no problems when he was asked to switch on to smaller players at USC. He has the ability to run the floor and has a smooth-looking jumper, and we did see potential of him being able to score from all three levels, although I personally am not super sold on his abilities to shoot three-pointers. The red flags about Evan Mobley is how badly does he want to be great? How great is his motor? Sometimes his body language indicates that he doesn't really want to be out on the floor, but whenever he does play to his fullest potential, he looks like Anthony Davis version 2.0 out there. It'll be up to the Cleveland Cavaliers to try to develop him to his fullest potential, and maybe Kevin Love stays for a little bit to try to mentor the young man. Who knows? With the fourth pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga University. Now, Jalen Suggs was the hero of the NCAA tournament. Although he wasn't able to finish the job in the NCAA championship, he had some tremendous moments where he showed that he could be the leader of a team. And if you're the Toronto Raptors, you're at that point where one of your franchise cornerstones, Kyle Lowry, might not return next year. This is the perfect time to feature a proverbial passing of the torch to a brand new, younger point guard that not only has a tremendous ability to score the basketball, that isn't only a player that truly could hit three-pointers and that has a silky smooth jump shot, but also a player that showed an ability to create for other teammates and that has a tremendous basketball IQ. He's also 6'4", which is prototypical point guard size in the modern NBA, and has remarkable shot selection with regard to the modern NBA. I definitely would like to see the potential of Jalen Suggs running with Pascal Siakam and the type of offensive sets that the Toronto Raptors would be able to feature with both of these two, considering how versatile Pascal Siakam is and how remarkable Jalen Suggs is in terms of creating high IQ basketball plays. And with the fifth pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Jonathan Kuminga, a forward out of the G League. Now, I don't know why, and we were talking about this on the Laced Up podcast. Mike Korzemba and I agree on this. For some reason, we all can't help but feel like Jonathan Kuminga is going to develop into an NBA star, like very similarly to the way Pascal Siakam did, which is kind of ironic because that's the NBA comparison he typically gets. The reason for this is he's an athletic wing. He's about 6'7.5" in shoes with a 6'11" wingspan and 250 215 pounds. He has an ability to score, but to be honest, during his time with the G League Ignite, he really didn't show any competence from beyond the arc. Now, that could be because of the small sample size of Jonathan Kuminga with the G League Ignite. Maybe his jump shot is better than he showed because he attempted 5 3-pointers a game, but he only converted on 25% of them. But the thing that's scary about this is, typically I measure a player's ability to eventually be able to develop a competent jumper based off of their free throw percentage. And in this situation, Kuminga only has a 63% free throw percentage. So he has a tremendously high ceiling, but the thing that I'm worried about is his floor. If he can't get a jump shot to fall consistently in the NBA, you're looking at a player that could potentially just be a role player. And here's what's funny, the 6th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to take Scottie Barnes. And the funny thing about this is Scottie Barnes is a very similar type of player to Jonathan Kuminga in the sense that he is very versatile. He could run the floor the way Kuminga does. He does have a few inches over Kuminga, but like Kuminga, he also possesses a paltry jump shot. Only in Scottie Barnes' case, he didn't even attempt to shoot from 3. His free throw percentage was also very similar, but where Scottie Barnes tends to excel is the fact that he is a very versatile forward. He is a remarkable playmaker that has a tremendous motor, and at the very worst, he'll provide defensive versatility for the Oklahoma City Thunder. With the 7th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select James Bouknight out of UConn. Now, James Bouknight might be one of those players that is going to creep up draft boards as the offseason goes on, and I feel like this is a perfect fit for him. He goes to a team that likes to shoot the 3. He showed that he is a competent shooter from 3 in his first season, shooting 35% from 3, but this past season, he did take a little dip, only shooting 29% from 3. Bouknight makes his living by slashing to the rim and is a phenomenal scorer, which is something that the Golden State Warriors could really use once Steph Curry goes to the bench. He's a tremendous playmaker that also has a phenomenal ball handling ability, so imagine bringing this man off the bench and having him score off of a few isolation plays for you. With the 8th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select FRANZ Wagner out of Michigan. Wagner is one of the best 3-and-D type players you could get in this entire draft, who's extremely versatile as well. He showed an ability to create plays for his teammates and excels really with off-ball defense and just general basketball IQ. He's a tremendous spot-up 3-point shooter that can easily drain shots off of 1 or 2 dribbles and has the potential to be the best 3-point shooter in the NBA draft. And just a little bit of trivia for you guys, he happens to be the brother of NBA player Mo Wagner. With the 9th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Keon Johnson, a wing out of Tennessee. Now, Keon Johnson is going to be the complement to De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton, which they clearly hit on in years prior, but also has the versatility to be a good pick and roll scorer if need be. He does have to add some muscle to his frame to really succeed at driving in the NBA, and his jump shot mechanics definitely could use some work. With the 10th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Davion Mitchell, a guard out of Baylor. So in this case, we're assuming that the Pelicans may lose Lonzo Ball and they need to replace him with another spot-up shooter that does have decent defensive abilities. And in Davion Mitchell, they do get someone that could fulfill the role Lonzo Ball was playing in the Stan Van Gundy offense, because Lonzo Ball wasn't really doing as much playmaking in Stan Van Gundy's offense. He was more of a spot-up shooter. And this past year, Davion Mitchell definitely took a leap as a spot-up shooter. He only shot 31% from 3 over his first 2 seasons and shot 45% as a junior. He's shown tremendous energy on the defensive end, and I think would be a perfect complement to Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram in any lineup. With the 11th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Moses Moody, a wing out of Arkansas. This is just a role player pick at this point. They do have Gordon Hayward starting at the forward position, and in Moses Moody, you have a player that is a potential 3-and-D type of player, but he could be greater. We don't really know how good Moses Moody can be because he's a very young player, but he did show off an ability to score from the perimeter and play excellent defense. He isn't necessarily a player that could create his own shots, but in terms of playing off of LaMelo Ball and Gordon Gordon Hayward and Devontae Graham, I definitely like this pick for the Hornets. With the 12th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Jalen Johnson out of Duke, who would be a remarkable addition for a team that might lose DeMar DeRozan in free agency and could use a secondary ball handler to run Greg Popovich's motion offense in addition to DeJounte Murray. He definitely needs to be developed a little bit, but if there's one thing that the San Antonio Spurs have shown in the past, especially with Kawhi Leonard, it's their ability to develop raw players like Jalen Johnson. And if they could get his jump shot to consistently fall and make the most out of his athleticism, you're looking at a player that can even become an all-star in the league someday. With the 13th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Josh Giddey, a 6'8" guard out of Adelaide. I feel like every time we see 6'8" point guards that are from European countries, we automatically assume it's the next coming of Luka Doncic, but in this case, you have a player that is phenomenal at playmaking, has tremendous basketball IQ, but could definitely develop his scoring ability a little bit more. And with the 14th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Corey Kispert, a wing out of Gonzaga. This is a home run pick if you're the Golden State Warriors, a player that seamlessly fits into your offense, that is a tremendous perimeter defender, but is also a phenomenal perimeter scorer, a player that demonstrates great energy on both sides of the floor, that has a lightning quick jump shot release. Honestly, I don't think he'll fall all the way to the Golden State Warriors in the NBA draft, but in the event that he does, that would be absolutely terrifying. Let me know what you guys would do differently in the NBA draft. Do you think I made a mistake in the earlier parts or the later parts? How come, and what would you do differently and why? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.